So great to have you with us, Rein. Thank you so much for making time to be with us here on Mouth Noise, and to share with us your stories, your project, your new project, the Gentle Bookshop, an online bookstore that we will look forward to asking you lots of questions about. Yeah, just for people watching and or listening, my name is Hene Moana, and I am from Aotearoa, New Zealand. I'm Maori on my dad's side, from several different tribes, and on my mum's side, I'm from Germany and England and Australia. And I'm currently living in Berlin. I'm doing a PhD at Potsdam University, and in these Corona times, very grateful for that security. So yeah, that's me. My languages are English and Maori. I'll be speaking English this time. So yeah, welcome, Rein.
Thank you. I guess I should introduce myself as well. And then, Rein, you can introduce yourself in whatever way you choose. It's totally up to you. So my name is Sophia. I'm a writer. I've been living in Berlin since 2013. So I kind of feel like this is my home now. I've lived in New York, London. I grew up between Lisbon and London, and my languages are English and Portuguese. And finally, a tiny bit of German. I'm very proud of that. And yes, it's a real delight to be doing Mouth Noise and to have you, Rein, here with us today. So take it away.
Again, thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be the first episode or session. It's a real honor. Thank you. So my name is Rein. My pronouns are she, her. I am the owner, I guess you could say, of the Gentle Bookshop. My mother is Japanese. My father is Italian Turkish, and I was born and raised in Tokyo, Japan. Languages, okay, so we all share the languages. I can speak Japanese and English. I'm trying my best to learn German, but it's a struggle, but I'm trying, I really am.
Kia ora, kia ora. Yes, pronouns, mine are she, her. Normally appears in my little name there, but for some reason, again, the technology disappears and comes back. But thank you for sharing. And again, welcome. Sophia, we were going to start with your question, I think, maybe.
Yeah, well, we are kind of asking our guests what they have been up to during these very strange times we are surviving through somehow. And I know one thing you've been up to, which is to start the Gentle Bookshop. So you can tell us about that and whatever else, whatever other extraordinary things you've been up to.
Yeah, what have I been up to in this pandemic? Oh God. A lot of staying inside, a lot of reading, a lot of drinking tea. And yeah, well, I started the Gentle Bookshop during this pandemic. And I was just talking to you both before about how it is finally given me the option to really take a break and think about how and why I would want to start this business. So I'm grateful of that. Yeah.
What kind of, I mean, both of us are interested in the fact that you decided to do this during the pandemic, and that was one of our questions actually, was when so many people are finding it difficult to do even existing things, a new venture is a really, I don't know, some people would say it might be a scary thing or a brave thing. One of the things you've said is that it actually the pandemic gave you the space to do it, because before that you were teaching, is that right?
Yeah, so I've always been an educator. It was just, I thought that's what I'd be doing forever, I guess. Forever is long and a big word, but for the near future. And I, yeah, well, before I even decided to do online, I was looking to open a physical store, bookshop, with my
Oh,
partner
okay.
who also does online sustainable vintage fashion. So we were like, okay, cool, like let's start a concept store together. Um, we thought it'd be nice. We're both queer, we're both Asian. Like it would just be maybe something Berlin. I mean, there's a lot of incredible ones. So I won't even say that, but just an extra cute little shop that we could do together. Um,
Yes, yeah.
yeah, but then we applied for 6 months and it was just denied, denied, denied. It was really hard. I wish I could just be like, it was fine and we got a shop, but no, it
Right.
was super, super hard. Well, because I've only been in Berlin for a year now, and we're both not German, so yeah. And she, as I said, she has an online shop, so she really helped me with all the online Instagram stuff, and she was incredibly helpful. Um, yeah, so I figured it'd be easier to do it online as well because most people are at home, and right now businesses are struggling if you have a physical space. So I figured it would be fine, and I'm really, really glad I went with online, at least to begin with. Yeah.
And what you write about it on the website, but we would love for you to tell us what was your motivation to start the Gentle Bookshop. What did you feel was missing? What did you want to see more of? Why did you just decide to go ahead and just do it?
Yeah, there are a few factors to this actually. Um, or maybe I'll break it down so it makes more sense. The first one was whenever I went to a physical bookshop, I'd kind of have my iPhone out trying to research what authors what kind of books I wanted to get. And then, I would go to the queer section and get a queer book, but then I'd research the author and find out they're actually straight or just have no experiences on being able to write about it. And this was infuriating and so confusing to me, and I'm sure to so many other people, that like, how could you write about an experience and on top of that profit over something that you have no idea what you're writing about? So yeah, and I also don't want to have to go into a bookshop and instead spend so much time researching when I could just, make a collection of all these books and have them online in one platform on one website where it's more people can just find incredible authors without having to do all this research. So that's the first option. I mean, the first point. The second one is that I've really liked the idea of having a bookshop. I thought maybe if I wasn't teaching, I would be a bookshop owner. I think it's perfect for my personality as a massive introvert, and just I enjoy reading a whole lot. So yeah, it's kind of nice to be living my dream, but virtually online.
Yeah,
So
which
it's something you wanted to do for a while, yeah?
Yeah, totally. Even as a kid, I was like, I want to be a kindergarten teacher or I want to have a bookshop. So little me would be proud right now, which is nice.
yeah, and having it online is also perfect for an introvert. So
Yes.
it works very well. We actually we want to ask you about other things as well, but I was wondering about the Pay It Forward program that you have on the website, and we'd love to talk about that as early as possible because I think it's such an important program. So yeah, please do explain how people can participate and contribute.
Yeah, the Pay It Forward. Firstly, I'm just going to acknowledge the fact that I take no credit in the Pay It Forward, I guess, program that I have. Okay, I'm gonna go kind of off on a tangent here. Is that fine?
Totally fine. Do it.
Love tangents.
Okay. My beautiful, beautiful friend, she's a dear, dear friend of mine. She is a writer, and she has actually written a poem on each book, on a bookmark that we have that we send off with each book order. It's called Black Woman, and it's just, yeah, I have no words for it except for when she sent it to me, I was just crying. So her and I were talking about how, like, yes, the Gentle Bookshop is great because you don't have to stand there and search for, the authors to see if they're doing the right thing or not. But it's also, I wanted to, like, give back. There's no one that's really profiting off this except for the authors and myself, and I guess the people reading books and educating themselves. But how can I also give back? And her name is Sledge, if I haven't mentioned that already. Sledge came back to me and was kind of like, I know this one website. It's a small independent business in Australia called Dinosaur and Hearts. And they sell little soaps and like just care packages, and they have a paid forward. So Sledge was like, why don't you do that on your website? And I thought, that's incredible. So yeah, what paid forward is now. It is a program that people can donate to. You can either buy a book or just donate on its own. I think it goes from 2 years to 15. It might be 20, but I'm pretty sure it's 15. And you can pay forward a book. So you can pay it forward to the BIPOC or queer community. And yeah, so whenever somebody wants a free book, and they can just message me on Instagram or email me. And yeah, we pay for shipping. So yeah, it's just a free book.
Yeah, so it's a wonderful program. So, and people can contribute from €2 upwards, right? So it's up,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, how much you want to contribute. Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you.
I was really interested to ask you as well, Rein. Is it okay if we just keep asking you questions? I mean,
Yes.
jump in at any time. I was interested to ask you, why does it matter to you? I mean, it's something that for many of us is self-evident, but maybe for some of the people who are watching or listening, it might not be self-evident. But why does it matter to you that an author has had some experience when they're writing the experiences of BIPOC people and queer people, for example? Why is that important, do you think?
Yeah, we could talk about this for ages, but I guess
I know. So I mean, if you just want to skip over it, that's also fine.
No. I think it's so important. Thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for asking. Yeah, so as I said, we can talk about it for ages. I guess I'll just say the main thing that irks all of us is the fact that, yeah, as I said before, like for the questions you asked previously, how could you write about an experience when you don't have any idea about it? Like, you often see this in not only books but also in movies and TV shows, that if there is a BIPOC or queer character, they're always like the sidekick or the best friend or the enemy even sometimes, and they hold these stereotypes of who they are just because of their race or because of their sexuality. And the main character who isn't BIPOC or who isn't queer is just automatically has this idea about them that they're accepting or they're political because they have a best friend that is BIPOC or queer, and that is just not the case at all. You can't have you just can't have a token person to play that role in a book, in a movie, or in a TV series. So this is really, really harmful. And you can't, on top of that, it's like they add this role into their book and then they profit off that. Or they even have main characters that are queer, that are BIPOC and that are experiencing these things that the community does, but then they have no idea about how it actually feels. And as I said, they're just making money off it, and people are reading it when they could actually be reading books that were written by these people. Does that make sense?
God, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
I'm especially thinking about TV shows, like you said, and movies. I can think of quite a few where that's clearly the case. And yes, a lot of people are profiting off of it massively. I am extremely curious, actually, about who are your favorite authors, like ever, or your favorite authors right now, like the people you are voraciously reading, or whose work you're in love with right now.
There's one book in particular that I can talk about that I'm reading currently, and I really want to ask this question back after I answer it. I am currently reading Inferno by Catherine Cho. And have you heard of it?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
It is.
Not until now.
Okay. All right. Well, pardon?
I'm writing it down though.
Yes. Yeah. I can also send it to you later. But Inferno by Catherine Cho is just so amazing. I'm just going to say a quick trigger warning in case people don't want to hear this, but it's about postpartum psychosis and mental illness. It is so incredibly heartbreaking. It's a book that I can't put down, but also really, really beautiful. It's about a woman who, she's Korean, and she gave birth to a baby, and 100 days after giving birth, she started seeing the baby as like a devil, and she was like ripping her clothes off, and just, she couldn't recognize anything or anyone. And then she got admitted into a ward, which she couldn't leave for a while, and she got diagnosed with postpartum psychosis. So the reason why I'm telling you about this as well is before starting the Gentle Bookshop, I didn't read a lot of memoirs. I loved fiction novels. I was like, fiction only sometimes I would read other genres, but I was obsessed with fiction. I just loved being in that fantasy world. And then after opening the Gentle Bookshop, I was kind of like, okay, let me put a fiction novel down and just try something else. And I did, and I picked up Inferno, and it was, oh God, it's incredible.
Great, thank you.
Before the pandemic, it's all coming back to me now. There was a life before the pandemic. We actually had a feminist memoir book club, and we were meeting up and discussing different memoirs. So yeah, that was another universe we used to live in.
It was one of those other universes.
Do you still do that?
No.
We stopped. We never tried to do it online. Maybe we should. I mean, I thought about it. We had a plan to meet up in a park during summer, but we never did that either. But yeah, this is a good reminder. Maybe it's something to think about. Yeah, it's also one of my favorite genres, of course.
I'd love to be a part of it if you do that.
Okay, cool.
Well, this is an incentive to make it happen again. Maybe it's wonderful to do it online, actually. We just...
This is fine. Yeah, online could work, definitely.
Okay.
And I'd love to ask you back, what are you both reading right now?
Something
that you love,
I'm a really notoriously slow reader. I'm a poet mainly as a writer, and I read every book as if it was poetry. So I'm like word by word. So it takes me a long time to read things that aren't poetry, or even things that are. So at the moment I'm reading this book called Curating Sweetgrass.
Yeah.
Which is written by Robin Wool Kimmerer, and she's she is kind of weaving Indigenous wisdoms and science when it comes to plants, teachings about plants. So that is amazing. And also reading a lot of stuff about, I guess, post-colonial scholars, what post-colonial scholars are writing, Indigenous scholars writing about different methodologies, how to write in the academy or in academia as it exists at the moment, but kind of re-indigenize it, kind of smash the colonial aspects of it. So I'm trying to read as much of that as I can as I launch into trying to write my own dissertation.
So my favorite genres are also memoir and poetry. I read a lot for work. I read very little outside of work because my work is in research and I also teach. So there's a tremendous amount of reading energy that goes into that. And I'm a notorious rereader. So I constantly reread the same books over and over. They're kind of the books that give me comfort and relief. So right now I'm rereading Maya Angelou's Getting Merry Like Christmas, which I've read I don't know how many times, and it's just I read very, very slowly when I'm rereading. So I'm kind of just going through every single word and just what you described, Himwana.
Yeah.
Tiny little passages and just really savoring every word. But I do have this fabulous pile of books here that were kind of intended to be my holiday reading and never became that. And I'll share them with you just as an experiment because I kind of forgot what they are. But they're here and they cheer me up greatly. So that's, let me see, that's poetry.
Yeah.
That's actually one of my absolute favorite poetry collections and poets, but I've only read it in digital form, so now I have it. I have this, which is a memoir day book.
Yeah.
I have this, which I've also read in digital form, and I loved it. So now I've ordered it.
Wow.
This is also work related. This is also work related, but Halberstam is one of my. Sam is resisting the camera. Not want to be televised. Okay, well, it's Wild Things by Jack Halberstam. And I'm really looking forward to reading this poetry collection. Surge, this came out a while ago and I finally managed to have it delivered. And then I have something that's unusual for me, which is an actual novel by Sarah Collins. So
wow.
I'm hoping to read that at some point. I've never read it and I'm looking forward to that. So for me, reading novels is kind of an experiment because I get very anxious about reading fiction because I can't quite distinguish what's real and what's not. So it's very demanding for me to kind of go into that world, whereas memoir comforts me because it's like, well, all these things kind of happened, at least in this person's mind they happened. So yeah, so I kind of read fiction. I have to convince myself that it's like a really long poem and then I can cope with it.
Yeah, I feel like you can tell so much about someone by what genre they like reading the most. Because right now when you said memoir, that memoirs comfort you because you're like, okay, well, that happened. For me, it's the complete opposite of why I read fiction, because I'm like, okay, none of this happened, it's fine, I'm just in my dream world in this book.
Yeah.
And that is comforting to me.
Mm-mm.
And Braiding Sweetgrass, I actually was going to order it in the next batch, so I'm really glad to hear you say that it was amazing.
Yes, I have a recommendation from a very dear friend who's also doing the PhD with me, and they actually loaned me this book. They really, really loved it as well. And for me, it's just very strong medicine. Like maybe it's got something to do with that slow reading, but I can't read too much of it in a day because it's so emotional. And I've only got tear ducts. They only work a certain number of hours a day. You know what I'm saying? So I have to be careful with them. Otherwise I'm going to wear them out.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I actually had a student of mine tell me that braided sweetgrass kind of opened up something in her mind when she was working on her thesis, and it kind of became the key to being able to finish it, to get it done. So there you go. Now I'm very curious about it. I definitely want to read it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sophia, you were saying about how you like rereading books, and I just wanted to quickly point out the most beautiful thing that I see about rereading books is all the details and kind of even like the stories and pictures that you might have missed the first time that you read it starts coming back to you, and then it's kind of like solving a puzzle that was almost finished but then isn't quite finished, and each time you reread it you find one extra puzzle piece that you can put back.
Totally. And you can also notice over time, you know, books that I probably read Maya Angelou's this part of her memoir. It's one of my favorite volumes from her memoir, and I probably first read it in my early 20s, and now I'm rereading it, and I respond to it so differently, you know. The things that provoke me are different. The things that I find calming or entertaining are different as well. Like I noticed that she lists so many names of musicians, and now I feel like I want to go and find those musicians on Spotify because it's so easy to do, right? And so there's like, I noticed that much more, that there's these amazing lists of jazz musicians I don't know, and I do love jazz, so I have a lot to discover, all from like, you know, the 50s, and yeah, so yeah, totally. It's like these little missing parts of the puzzle that you come across, and then it's so satisfying to, you know, put them in their place, but then next time it's going to be a totally different puzzle, so you're all starting from scratch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
This is from the end of the preface, from Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer, published by Penguin. I could hand you a braid of sweetgrass as thick and shining as the plait that hung down my grandmother's back. But it is not mine to give, nor yours to take. Weengush belongs to herself. So I offer in its place a braid of stories meant to heal our relationship with the world. This braid is woven from 3 strands: Indigenous ways of knowing, scientific knowledge, and the story of an Anish Quebecois scientist trying to bring them together in service to what matters most. It's an intertwining of science, spirit, and story, old stories and new ones, that can be medicine for our broken relationship with the earth. A pharmacopoeia of healing stories that allow us to imagine a different relationship in which people and land are good medicine for each other.
Thank you.
Amazing. Now I'm just going to read it. Now that's it, you know.
Yeah.
And I can put it in my category of work-related reading. So then I'll actually get it done.
Yeah. Sophia, do you have one as well? You have a lot of books next to you.
I do, but I don't know if I want to read from anything right now, because, you know, I have my pile of books I haven't read yet, and then I have work-related books. They're very specialized. This is fabulous, but I don't know. Ghostly Matters. I'm not having
Ghostly Matters.
Ghostly Matters from Avery Gordon. It's not light reading, I wouldn't say. It's dealing with a lot of violence on a state scale, but I think it's important to be very aware of how these things happen around the world.
Sophia's staring deeply into the mouth noise logo.
Oh gosh, yes, I am.
That's so great. And
I'm
from
here all
the
day
mouth,
staring.
yeah, from the mouth you will extract.
I can, oh, I want to see, I can go this and I'll get a book.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. I actually want to read from one of my favorite books, which is Clarice Lispector, Água Viva. She was a Brazilian novelist, and it's actually in Portuguese, so I will just read in Portuguese.
Right.
And I don't have it in translation, but maybe there's a way we can also provide translation for our viewers, watchers eventually.
Yes, yeah.
So I will read, of course, in my own accent from Portugal, not in Brazilian Portuguese. É com uma alegria tão profunda. É uma tal aleluia. Aleluia, grito eu, aleluia, que se funde com o mais escuro uivo humano. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't think I can read this.
I understand. Yeah.
It's very intense.
Yeah.
I forgot about it. I haven't looked at anything like this in a very, very long time. I stay away from anything that's intense.
Yeah.
And just try to live in my extremely censored world, but I have to read it, really read this when we're done, and figure out why it brought me to tears immediately.
Yeah.
So, well, Clarice Lispector is an extremely intense writer. She was Jewish, Brazilian. She was born in the Ukraine, and went to live in Brazil when she was, I think, 2 or 3 years old, something like that. And quite interestingly, she always had a foreign accent. So she spoke Portuguese with not quite a Brazilian accent, but a different kind of accent. So that's quite interesting to think about. Yeah, so my failed attempt at
no worries. That's why I read from the preface.
Thank you. Thank you, Sophia.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so is there anything else that any of us would like to ask each other? It's a very nice conversation.
I'm thinking. Well, would you like to talk about mouth noise? As this is like the first episode.
Well, it's the first series of, like, we've done
the series. Yeah,
we've done, like, we did 2 interviews yesterday, but this I guess this season will be the first time that we've officially released it, really, eh?
Yeah, that's right. We've released some little clips here and there, but that was quite different. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. We this is from my perspective. I just love hanging out with Sophia. She's a lot of fun, and she's super smart, and also quite I don't know, she takes risks. She's a person that takes risks in ways that I find really relatable. And so we had some great times doing some filming and some asking each other questions and stuff with our amazing co-collaborator, Moon. Moon will also be a guest on our first season of Mouth Noise, so you'll get to meet them. And so that was just super, super lovely, and really, when I think about it, it feels like a time of lots of kind of glitter and hilarity, and definitely glasses of alcohol. And we didn't quite know what it might turn into at that point, and we still don't really, because there's lots of options. But really, it was a way, for me, it was a way to get to hang out more with Sophia, and also with our amazing support group with Moon, and with Marie and Mara, who are also part of the first episodes. Yeah, so we've got all of that footage, and that may or may not see the light of day. And
It will.
Well, it will.
It
Yes. And then, but also a massive motivation for me was that we just have really amazing friends who are artists and who are activists and scholars and just awesome people as well. And we thought, well, Sophia's been the driving engine during this pandemic time, because I have been quite withdrawn and kind of finding it very difficult to work even on things that are kind of beautiful and inspiring. So Sophia's been really, you know, kind of motivating us and the locomotive of getting us to this point, which I'm so grateful for, that we can bring people like yourself on board and share what you do with as many people as we can, as we know. Yeah.
It's a wonderful platform, you two, honestly. A wonderful platform. I think it's great. So then, you know, it's kind of like a bookshop. I guess it's kind of like there's one place where you can go where you can be able to hear stories of these incredible people like you mentioned. Yeah. So thank you so much again for having me on here.
You're very, very welcome. I think for me, Mouth Noise is kind of a healing project. You know, that's what we want to do with it. And I think I love working with Moana because she makes me feel like the world is a less hopeless place. That's just the truth, you know.
Good to know.
So yeah, that's my private personal motivation. But yeah, for me, it's just very healing to connect with others and to give people, you know, space in our platform, whatever we are doing. And you mentioned glitter, right? And I want to bring some of that glitter and that hilarious feeling, whatever we were doing back then. We have to find a way to bring a lot of glitter to Mouth Noise. But yeah, thank you, Rein, for being here so early on in the project. And sharing.
Thank you for thinking of me and reaching out.
And thank you for the work you do curating this work by BIPOC people and queer people, so that it's easier for us and for others to find work by us, because yeah, it actually in some ways it also comes down to surviving and thriving. You know, those of us who depend on those channels, publishing, and those platforms to make a living, in your space at least, are not having to compete with people whose experience is not, I guess you could say, authentic. So thank you very much for making that space. We're all very grateful for that.